Welcome to Your Grey Matters, the podcast that unveils the miracles already amongst us. Here, we believe that the human mind cannot be defeated. Tune in to discover the fascinating people with extraordinary stories, innovative products, and groundbreaking services. With your host, Neil Silvert, who's earned his gray hair and still has use of his graying matter. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming back to another episode of the Your Grey Matters podcast. My name is Jason, here as always with my dad, your host, Neil. Hey, Dad, how you doing today?
I'm great. Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
And we have a really different episode for you today. It's just Dad and I talking about the probably most important thing in most people's lives. It rules most people's lives. It's not everyone's lives. But we don't often spend enough time thinking about it. Or I'd say rather, I don't know if you agree with me, most people really only think about it if they're absolutely forced to think about it.
Yeah.
And that is politics.
Not something that we normally do on this show.
No, and there's good reason for that. Although might be nice to stoke controversy from time to time. Politics and the different ideologies that are represented within the Canadian political system. You know, you and I, Dad, don't really agree on who should lead the country, the best way to lead the country. Sometimes we don't even agree on the most important issues facing the country. But that doesn't stop us from occasionally discussing politics and the importance that politics plays within both of our lives.
Correct. The truth is, Jason, we don't agree on many things, except that we do agree that we need a democracy. We have a democracy in this country. What it looks like is what we disagree on. But ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to do this today because we're all lucky enough to live in a democracy where we actually have a voice in the direction of our country.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say we don't even necessarily agree with what our democracy should look like, because I think that's true of a lot of people, even if they can't necessarily put words to the thought. You know, we use something in this country called the first past the post system. Even if you don't know what that means, but you voted before, you kind of do know what it means. What it means is the person who gets a plurality of votes in your riding becomes the member of parliament for that riding. Now, I use the word plurality, not majority. You don't have to get a majority of votes in your riding to win. You just have to get the most votes, and the most votes is known as a plurality. So you get that plurality of votes, and now you're the sitting MP. And that's not necessarily a system I agree with. I think there are better systems that can be used. There's proportional representation, mixed member proportional representation. We can get into all of that. That is not what today's episode is about. I promise you that. Everybody would be running for the hills, including you, I think, Dad, if that's what this episode was about.
Yes, exactly. Or you could just wake me up when it's over.
That's right, exactly. So we're not going to talk about electoral systems and electoral reform, and we're not even really going to talk about how you get elected, but it is important to understand why we hold elections, and more importantly, what you can do to make an impact in that election.
Absolutely.
You know, in the news a lot lately has been, are we going to have a non-confidence vote? Is the government going to fall? Well, what's a non-confidence vote? Dad, I know you just heard something that you really liked that did a good explanation about what a non-confidence vote is. Do you want to share that with us?
Sure. Let me take a shot at it, Jason. Hi, everybody. So there are 338 seats, and each seat represents an electoral district in this country, which is actually created by Elections Canada.
That's right.
So to maintain a majority status, a party has to have more than one half of the 338 seats.
Yeah. So right now, my understanding is that no party has a majority. In fact, that's how we end up talking about potential non-confidence votes. Just for our listeners and viewers' knowledge, do you have a breakdown of the party standings right now in Parliament?
I do. So the Liberals presently have 153 seats. So they would need 16 more seats from other parties to maintain a majority. The Conservatives have 119 seats, so not enough to hold power. The NDP have 24 seats. The Bloc has 32 seats. Now, the Bloc and the NDP have just won 2 by-elections, but those seats are not counted yet. And then when you further look at it, the Green have a couple of seats and there's 4 independents, and that's
Gotcha.
essentially the breakdown.
So if you were to add up all of the seats not held by the Liberals, that obviously equals more than what the Liberals do hold. So because of that, we call that a minority government. The Liberal Party has a plurality of seats, there's that word again, but they don't have a majority of seats. Now, because they had the plurality of seats, they were asked by the Governor General to form government, and they were only to do so because at the time they were asked to form government, they were able to prove that they could have the confidence of the House. However, what we've heard about in recent times, especially with the end of the Liberal NDP agreement, which we don't have to get into, is that they may not have the confidence of the House anymore. And so if a vote was to occur that was designated a confidence vote, and the Liberals were to lose that vote, they would effectively lose the confidence of the House, and an election would have to be held. Now, the political science nerd in me and the political science major in me goes, that's actually technically not true. It wouldn't immediately trigger an election. There's quite a few other steps. We're not going to get into that today. We just need to know that if the Liberals lose the confidence of the House, and they do so by losing a confidence vote, then we probably go to an election. A confidence vote is one of two things. It's any vote having to do with money, so any budgetary votes whatsoever are automatically confidence votes, or any vote that the Liberal Party determines is a confidence vote is also a confidence vote. So any of those types of votes then being lost, okay, you no longer have the confidence of the House. And you get to what is probably the only time most people in this country think about politics, that is a federal election. And so one of the coolest things that you're doing right now, one of the coolest things that you're doing today, Dad, and right now, and one of the reasons we wanted to have this conversation is because you're actually working hard behind the scenes for whenever that next election does occur. We don't have to get into party politics. We don't have to get into why you chose your candidate or the party you're working for even. But would you share with our viewers a little bit about why now is the right time for you to get involved? Why you felt called now?
Sure. So I believe in something that I learned when I was very much involved in community work. And we've run podcasts about volunteering and the fact that I'm a professionally trained fundraiser and community worker. And that is that the best way to make change in anything is to do it from the inside. It's very easy to stand outside of what is going on in a situation and give one's opinion. I like it, I don't like it, they should do this, they should do that. But you affect change by putting yourself into the position of being able to affect change. You also can grow a lot as a person. I have found over the years getting involved in political work has helped me as a business person. My Rolodex is bigger. There is a real self excitement to be able to accomplish things. And of course, the best is to work for something that you believe in. Jason, presupposing that we all believe in having a wonderful and great Canada, irrespective of what one's definition of that is, to get there, it is, in my opinion, worth one's time to get involved as a volunteer or even as a paid staff person. I have for years been a volunteer. I'm 70 years old. I'm still volunteering with my party, with the candidate I choose to support. It doesn't matter who it is for this podcast. But I learned a long time ago that there are tremendous reasons to get involved. I have grandchildren, I have children, and my friends have grandchildren, and we're all millions and millions and millions of Canadians. One way or another, we ended up in this country. We could be First Nations and have been here from the beginning, or our ancestors came here. Our ancestors came here looking generally for freedom and the ability to grow their own wealth in security and safety. I have long been concerned that that security and safety is being affected in a way that not everybody likes. So instead of me complaining about it, I decided to get involved. But let me tell you, as a younger person, Jason, what the heck you can get out of this. And I'm encouraging people to think strongly about this.
So what can I get out of this? Can I get fame, fortune, women or men? You know, what kind of actual real life benefits is this going to have to me other than feeling good, which is not to be discounted?
Okay. So let's start with the question that you just asked, and I'll break that down. First of all, let's talk about feeling good. If you want to feel good about your life and your country and where our country sits in this world, then again, helping to affect change from the inside by getting involved as a volunteer is really, really important. So, our average voter turnout in federal elections is about 65 to 70%. This is lower than countries like Australia, but higher than the US actually. Again, it comes back to engaging yourself as a voter to simply be able to take part in the direction of this country. Lots of people like to say, doesn't affect me. I don't care. But quite often, those are the same folks who are unhappy about the situation that they're in with their life, their job, their income, their taxes, their personal relationships, Jason. I would argue the following. Number one, when you get involved, you actually, and you ask that question, Jason, meeting men, meeting women, meeting partners, having fun, making new relationships. I think that it is the best and most important thing that comes out of this. You meet people like minded, not again in their politics necessarily, but like minded and wanting to take a part, have a part of moving the country forward, having a say specifically in what goes on in this country. And as you develop more and more in the process, you can attain positions. There are volunteer boards of directors in each of these electoral districts that have a say in what's going on in our country.
And I just want to say, if you're somebody like me, and which is a person that likes to kind of go path of least resistance or the most benefit for the least amount of effort, and you are motivated to get involved in politics, let me tell you, it sounds kind of silly, it sounds kind of contrary, but you can get a huge amount of benefit from a really the least amount of effort. If you are somebody who wants to be a decision maker or to help the decision makers, I can tell you from experience, if you're looking for a place on an electoral district association's board, just put your name forward. You'll probably get in. And once you're on the board, then you can really start to have a change in not only what your local riding association or electoral district association is doing, but also on a provincial, regional, federal level to a certain extent, because there aren't enough people. And they're really interested in taking the views and opinions and ideas from those who just put their hand up and throw their hat in the ring and say, I care enough to get involved. So I remember when I was in the university, I studied political science. And obviously, I was very motivated to be involved in politics at that time. And very quickly, I went from just some guy knocking on doors to having the cell phone number of the regional organizer for that political party. And that is a paid position. The regional organizer for that political party was a well paid, high power position. And it didn't take long before I had his ear. So if you're motivated by power, if you're motivated by not the idea of being able to make a change, but having tangible proof that you've made a change, Honestly, just get the number of your local EDA for the party you like, call them up and say, I want to get involved. And very quickly you can do so.
But pragmatically, too, Jason, life skills come out of this experience. And I want to touch on that a little bit because I'm living it now, because now I joined. I was asked because of my background to take a senior advisory position, and it's a paid position. And again, the commitment to our democracy, my children and grandchildren, is what's driving this and our everybody's family. So let's be pragmatic. In 2 weeks from now, I will do my first fundraising training program. I have 11 young people from age 19 up to 70. I call them young. We're coming out because not only are we going to raise money for our particular party, but I'm going to be teaching fundraising. These are actual fundraising courses where we have something to eat, and then there's pragmatic phoning that night to raise money. It's all as a volunteer. Everybody's a volunteer in this. Even I'm doing this at a volunteer level. But I will say this to you, everybody. If you can learn how to fundraise, this is just one area. If you're a fundraiser in your experience, every charity and every political party will want to have you as a part of them. But you get enough experience, paid jobs, just look in your local job finder and just look at how many fundraising jobs at high five-figure, six-figure incomes are available. Because if you get involved with your political party, you're going to learn about communications and how they were going out and canvassing with your MP, going door to door and talking to real life people and listening to them and learning what they're saying, learning perhaps the position of the party that you're helping. On election day, you can play a major role in just getting voters out to vote. That is something special. So it's nonstop advantages in doing that can go into your career path. When I was very young, I was told that another word for campaign is war. An electoral campaign, a fundraising campaign, it's a war to make people aware what's going on and to get them to take action, voting, giving money, whatever. Ladies and gentlemen, you get involved in this process, you're going to a peaceful war that can help keep our democracy strong. It's kind of, I'm sorry to say, it's a use it or lose it opportunity. And you simply, if you want to get involved, is look up who your electoral candidate is or any other party in your district, and you can simply call them and ask if you can get involved. And if you don't know how to find out what district you're in, it's online. Just put in your address
Yep.
and ask, what's my EDA?
And one other way to get involved that I'll mention just as we wrap up is maybe you're not motivated by any individual party. Maybe there's no party that you look at and go, this is something I want to throw my weight behind. But you still believe in democracy, you still believe in our electoral system, and you still want to get involved. You can volunteer with Elections Canada directly. Have you ever wanted to be one of the people that hands out ballots? Have you ever wanted to be one of the people that counts the ballots? Have you ever wanted to be one of the people that oversees the entire polling center? Do you like putting out fires? Do you like having to deal with any number of different emergencies that are going to come up on a daily basis? Working for Elections Canada, working at a poll, working as a deputy returning officer, and I'll let you look that up, is a great way to make an impact. I've been a deputy returning officer before. It is so much fun. It is really fulfilling, and it's a great way to get involved without picking sides. And if you don't want to pick sides, that's totally cool. You're still making a huge difference.
So whether you get involved or not at any of these levels, please vote. You must vote.
Yeah.
It is not an overstatement when we do say that our soldiers died in wars for this freedom, like it or not. You have the freedom to vote. You never want to be in a country where you're not able to freely vote. Thanks, Jason.
That's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for tuning in again. Let us know what you thought about this episode in the comments. Like, hit subscribe, tell a friend, and yeah, share with us, what will you be doing for this upcoming election? Are you going to be motivated to do anything about it? Are you going to help in your riding? Are you going to help your candidate? Are you going to help Elections Canada? What makes most sense for you?
One other thing, by the way, if there's anything with this that you don't understand and you want more information and you're just encouraged to do something, but you don't know what to do next, write us. We'll get the info for you. We will help you.
And with that, thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next Monday on another episode of the Your Gray Matters podcast.
Thanks for watching. If you found it interesting and you liked it, give us a thumbs up. If you're ready to subscribe, click right here. And if you'd like to see another episode, click right here. Tell a friend. Send us comments. Thanks a lot.